Namaskar. Welcome to Government e-Marketplace. In this module, we are going to cover the following topics: Genesis of GEM, key advantages for buyers on GEM, prerequisites for registration, primary and secondary users, roles and responsibilities of primary and secondary users, role of a verifying authority. Government e-Marketplace was launched on 9th August 2016 to become a one-stop online procurement portal for all government buyers. The portal was designed to be cashless, contactless, and paperless. The portal provides tools of e-bidding, reverse auction, and direct procurement, among many others, to facilitate government procurement. GEM aims to enhance efficiency, transparency, and inclusiveness in public procurement. Buyer-user roles based on segregation of duties. 1. Primary user registers the organization, creates and modifies secondary users, manages user deactivation, and monitors order placing. 2. Buyer is a secondary user that makes purchases and drafts bills. 3. Consignee is a secondary user that accepts and rejects consignment. Buyer and consignee can be the same person. 4. Payment officer is a secondary user that finalizes bill payment. They are called DDO in case of PFMS-based payment and PAO in case of non-PFMS payment. Prerequisites for primary user registration are: 1. Aadhaar number of user. 2. Mobile number linked with Aadhaar number. 3. Email ID hosted by NIC. In case user doesn't have NIC email, they can apply for GEM buyer email ID. 4. Verifying authority details. Prerequisites for secondary user registration are: 5. Aadhaar number of the user. 6. Mobile number linked with Aadhaar number. 7. Email ID hosted by NIC. In case user doesn't have NIC email, they can apply for GEM buyer email ID. Primary users are responsible for the following: 1. Self-registration. 2. Buyer's organization account setup. 3. Monitoring of order placed. 4. Creation or modification of secondary users, including deactivation and transfers. 5. Administration of GEM procurement. Please note, primary users cannot create orders on GEM and must create a secondary user in the role of a buyer. Primary user registration is authorized at the level of Deputy Secretary or equivalent officer or head of the officers at the subcenter, unit, branch of government organization, PSU, autonomous bodies, local bodies, constitution bodies, or statutory bodies. Buyer registration flow. Step 1. Primary user verification. The primary user has to sign up using their Aadhaar number and mobile number linked with Aadhaar. Step 2. Primary user sign up. Primary user has to sign up using gov.in or nic.in email ID. If the user doesn't have a gov.in or nic.in email, they can raise a request with NIC for an official email ID. Alternatively, they can apply for a GEM buyer email ID from GEM. User has to then select the details of organization type, ministry or department, and organization from the drop-down menu. Complete the registration and select the username for the account. Step 3. Primary user profile updation. Primary user has to then update their profile, including organization address, payment method, and payment details. They have to also provide the details of the verifying authority, including email address. The platform will then send a verification email to the authority. Step 4. Secondary user definition by primary user. The primary user will further add division details of their organization. The primary user can also add and manage secondary users by providing relevant details and email ID of the secondary user. The primary user can add, modify, activate, or deactivate and transfer secondary users as required. Step 4.1. Application for GEM buyer ID for secondary user. In case the secondary user doesn't have an NIC email ID, the primary user can apply for GEM buyer email ID on behalf of the secondary user to the GEM applicant team. Following the request, the GEM applicant team will issue the new IDs. Step 5. Secondary user verification. The secondary user can only sign up via the invitation sent by the primary user. The secondary user must click on the link in the email or SMS invitation received from the primary user. The secondary user will then be verified using their Aadhaar number, and their name will be auto-populated from the Aadhaar database. Step 6. Secondary user profile updation. For users with gov.in or nic.in domain email ID, post-activation of a secondary user, the secondary user will log in using their GEM user ID and associated password and update their profile. Step 7. Secondary user registration. The HOD will send an invitation to the official email ID. The secondary user will click on the link and verify their Aadhaar-linked mobile number. The secondary user will complete their profile details such as office address. At the time of registration, the primary user will need to provide the details of the verifying authority. If the verifying authority doesn't click on the deactivation link for next 48 hours, the primary user is considered auto-approved by GEM. An email is then sent to competent authority with the information about the approval. Thank you.